All right, this is me, Rick Middlemass, VP of Business Development at the National Association of Sales Professionals. And some very exciting things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the most powerful force in human nature, actually. The most powerful force that is driving all of your sales, business development, and really everything you do. Absolutely everything that you do. Who in here is in account management, inside sales, outside sales, business development, some type of corporate position? Okay, very good, very good. And who is in a bit more of an entrepreneurial, running your own business? Okay, very cool, very cool. All right, so what is shaping your behavior in sales, in reaching out to new clients, in everything that you're doing in developing your business, increasing revenue, business development? That force is called your identity. It's what you stay consistent with every minute of every hour of every day. From the moment that you wake up in the morning, jump into your morning routine. I know I basically do the same thing every morning, get up, go in the shower. It's basically, I've got every minute down to a T, fully maximized my morning time. That's a part of my identity. That's something that I've trained into my mind and who I am every day. So what really shapes your identity? What is it that makes you you? Well, it's a combination of three very specific things that have happened to you throughout your life up until today. Number one is significant emotional events. So thinking about your life, I mean, everything that you've done so far in your life. Think about your first, if anybody got maybe bullied in middle school or high school, that shaped their identity. When you went from an I to a we, got married, shaping your identity. A lot of the events you might come to, like a sales summit or a lot of seminars, that you might find some information that would be life-changing and impact the way that you operate day to day because of that significant emotional event. Now, in terms of sales, what were some of your first experiences in sales? What was it like to first start? Maybe my first position in sales, the first business that I ran was a residential house painting business. So my first experiences were going up and knocking on doors, not knowing anything about painting houses, not knowing really anything about anything, but talking to people about doing an estimate and then selling houses. I went from not knowing anything to doing about $100,000 worth of revenue in the next few years. Now, how did those first experiences of sales impact you? What was your first sales pitch? What was the first presentation that you gave? What happened during that, and how did it shape your experience? Significant emotional events. Now, another component to keep in mind is when we start to talk about the next component, which is conditioning, is how many times have you gone to an event or maybe had an annual sales meeting, some type of event where everyone was fired up, right? Everyone got into a great emotional state, everyone got some new ideas, everyone got some new motivation on what they were going to now go and do in the following year. Maybe it was a year kickoff, in the following months, whatever it might have been. It was a great week following that event, right? It was maybe a great couple of weeks. But 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, everyone is falling back into their identity, back into their patterns. I'm sure you've seen this happen over and over again. And that is because the second component of the three forces that build identity hasn't been pulled into play, right? Consistency. consistency, what we do day to day, is absolutely and completely a component of building the identity. The significant emotional event without the conditioning, without the consistency, is never going to last. It's not going to stick. Think about consistency in terms of your own life. What are you doing day to day? What are you doing consistently? What is being reinforced? A great example is picking up habits, maybe not the best habits, of smoking cigarettes. We don't start out smoking a pack a day. We start out maybe taking, your first puff or smoking a cigarette and grow into, through consistency, through daily smoking, and get to that point, build it into your identity. What are you doing as an entrepreneurial business or as a sales organization consistently? What do your meetings look like? Is there a monthly review of numbers? What is consistently happening within your business in terms of building your sales identity? And then, of course, the third component of identity is environment. So there have been studies done that you are the average of the closest 5 people, the closest 10 people that you spend the most time with. Who do you spend time with? I believe it was Forbes did a study that your net worth is the average of the closest 5 or the closest 10 people that you hang out with, that you spend time with. And this plays in a huge way into your organization, your entrepreneurial organization or your corporation. Who are you working with? What is the culture that is defining your day-to-day behaviors and your methods of communication? That is the identity of the organization. And that further reinforces your identity and what you're doing day to day. So, identity, obviously, incredibly important in understanding how this comes together. And your identity will create the results in your sales success. What are the 2 key components to keep in mind in your identity? When we talk about your identity to influence, right? There are 2 components of influence. We are influencing both ourselves and we're influencing others. How do we influence ourselves? Well, there's 3 key components of how we influence ourselves. Number 1 is our focus, right? What are we focused on day to day, minute to minute, hour to hour? We have a certain little bit of mental RAM, a certain little bit of mental consciousness that is our focus. Of the 3 things we basically control in life, one of those is our focus. Where are we looking? Where are we looking day to day? When we get into the office in the morning, when we get into wherever it is that we work from, where is our focus going to? Is it going to outcomes for this day, this week, this month? Or is it going to the fire that needs to be put out in order to keep a client happy? Where is our focus going? A good story on focus is my girlfriend and I were she was driving a car through Michigan. If you spend much time in the Midwest, you know that deers are a big issue. If you get in a car accident, it's either you got in an accident with another car or somehow a deer influenced you getting into an accident. So we were driving down a little bit more of a country road. Deer comes out into the road. She swerves. There is pretty open fields on either side, pretty safe place, if any, to have some sort of an accident. There's one telegraph pole that all of a sudden we swerve, we're going right at this telegraph pole. I mean, a split second, that's exactly where we're headed. So I grab over the wheel, pull it back a little bit to avoid actually hitting this pole. But why, out of all this open space, were we going directly toward the pole? Because the pole was seen, the pole was in focus, and whatever we look at, wherever we are focused, is where we go. What you focus on is what grows, is what seems real to us, and is what we become. It absolutely is. So, of the three components that shape our intrapersonal influence, how we influence ourselves, the second one is our self-talk. I mean, there's two voices inside our head at all times. One of them is saying, you know, this could be really great. This could go awesome. We could make a lot of sales. We could grow the business. I go up and talk to this person. This could be a great relationship. There's another voice that is saying, this could suck. This could go completely wrong. This could be a waste of time. This could be this could go really bad, and it could be a bit of a pain remembrance for me. It could influence my identity in a bad way. So consistently, at any point of you going to do something, you're either feeding the critic or the cheerleader. And why are we talking about intrapersonal influence? Because it is a huge influence on our interpersonal influence. So what's the third component of intrapersonal influence that we have the ability to control? It is body language. So it's our physiology, it's how we're standing, it's what we're doing, how we're moving. Am I kind of talking to you like this today and a little bit not feeling so good? Or am I telling you what's going on and bringing energy like our presenter just before us today was saying positive and energetic? He's spot on. And what we are doing consistently day to day with our physiology, with our body, with our working out, how we're walking, that has, the consistency there is also building an identity, right? That consistency is who we are. So intrapersonal communication, how we're communicating with ourselves, these are the three components that we can affect, the three components that we can build consistency around, the three components that we have a choice around. And why is that important to keep in mind and be consistent with? Because it affects our interpersonal communication. Our interpersonal communication is decided and hugely influenced by our intrapersonal communication. Our intrapersonal communication determines really the state, the emotional state that we're in, and that going into that completely influences our interpersonal communication. So, and why does it do that? You may have seen these numbers before. When talking with somebody else, when influencing a group, we influence 55% through body language, 38% through tone, and 7% through our choice of words. A great metaphor for this that was told to me is think about an arrow. So the key component of the arrow, without this component, an arrow would be completely useless, is the shaft. The shaft is 55%. It is what makes up most of the arrow. We need the shaft. We can fire a shaft, just the shaft, and have some impact. We're going to have less accuracy, and it's going to be hard to really make a dent, but we're able to fire the shaft. Tonality, 38%. Think of this as the feathers. With the shaft and the feathers, we're able to fire the arrow fairly accurately. We're able to hit our target. We're able to make a bit of an impact. We're probably not able to penetrate, though. And that's where we take that last 7% and really focus on what are the words we're choosing to use. So, interpersonal communication. Very much a key component. So what do we do at NASP in our programs? Well, we, again, really focus on building the identity of the sales professional, the identity of the organization. And how do we do that? We do that by creating significant emotional events, going in and doing some various training. We have some incredible trainers who come in and really make some impactful, transformational events. What do we do to follow up on that? Well, we have our various conditioning programs. We know it's very important to go to get through that unconscious pushback, to really build whatever it is that we're doing, whatever it is that we're teaching into our unconscious, into our habits, into our identity. So the conditioning component is very important. extremely important. And then the third component of what we do is focus on building the environment, building the culture, doing some various assessments of where you're at today and some various assessments of where it is that you want to go as an organization in your identity. So those are really the key components that I wanted to talk about today, is your identity, what is going to drive your behavior day to day, who you are, the force that we have to, we don't have a choice. We stay consistent with every second of every moment of every day. The identity and how that plays into intrapersonal communication, what we are doing to influence ourselves in talking and influencing with ourselves, how that plays into interpersonal communication, how our emotional state is going to impact and affect our ability to influence, our ability to give the sales presentations, to build the relationship with the client, and make that sale. These all play into the identity, and that is really the main components of what we are doing. So that's really what I wanted to touch on today. Any questions from the group on anything that I've covered so far? Any thoughts? Very good. Very good. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here, everybody. I think our MC is out of the room right now, but we can keep talking for a little bit. Any thoughts? Any thoughts anyone wants to throw out there?
What do you sell? Sorry, I missed that. What company do you work for?
So, the National Association of Sales Professionals, what we sell is sales training, sales conditioning programs. We have, so good question. So what do we offer? The National Association of Sales Professionals, what we have to offer is a number of different complementary resources to sales professionals, being we have various complementary coaching, we have a complementary coaching session that we offer to individuals who come to our association and sign up as a member with one of our certified trainers. We also have a webinar series that we offer complimentary to our members on a monthly basis to help grow your ability to influence. We also have a seller style assessment that's available complimentary to members. Going through the assessment, it really allows you the opportunity to understand what your current seller style is, where you're currently at in your selling, and what your ideal seller style might be. The reason behind this assessment is to find what that gap might be. What are some key components that you can work on to grow your ability to sell, to grow your ability to influence? Those are the complementary resources that we offer. Also, from a paid side, we have our various conditioning programs that we offer also, which focus on growing the sales identity, growing the ability to influence through consistency, through visiting the various principles of influence every day, ideally every morning, building that into your sales behavior, your identity, your habits, and getting you to the point where you're able to focus on your product, the specifications, what's your value pitch, what are the specific benefits to your clients, and not necessarily have to wonder and focus on, am I creating a comfortable emotional buying environment? Am I meeting the emotional needs of the customer? As we found, people buy for emotional reasons and justify with logic. As long as the products and services we're looking at are about equivalent, people will lean on what logically feels correct. So that's where we really come in and focus on that, building the identity component of sales training. So that's what we have, that's what we offer, and I want to thank you guys for being here for the presentation.